Okay guys, in today's video, I said I would be making some videos about some of my different collections. So what I thought I would do is to give you guys a introduction to Solana NFT lending. And the best way I could do that is I obviously don't know how much Solana you guys are going to go into this with. If you follow our weekly updates, I am currently doing about 50 Solana. I started with 50, I think I've made 55, we made 10%. Plus, we've had some defaults that have doubled that to about a 20% return in like 45 days. So it's been an incredible journey so far. We also, at the start of the journey, I think Solana was at like $40, and now it's back down to like 93, but it went up to an all-time high of 120. So it's a very volatile thing, but I have been doing loans for a very long time. So just to give you guys a rough idea, I started doing hardcore NFT loans, and I did do videos on this like easily over a year ago. We can see the first loans were much longer than a year ago, and this was when Solana was like $12 to $20, and I did that all throughout the year, and we did many loans, more like hundreds of loans actually. If we just keep scrolling, you can see I've done hundreds of loans easily, and in total we had 32 foreclosures, and we have generated a interest of 167 Solana. Obviously the 32 foreclosures, some are good, some are bad, but that's not this video. So in this video I'm going to cover 3 different categories, and hopefully I can cover enough to basically give you guys an entry. And so starting in the low cost or the budget category is going to be the sub 5 Solana category. So in this, the first one is pretty good. It's Sharky. So these things typically, I think they've gone to an all-time high of like 20 Sol, but like 3 to 5 is where they've sat for like the last year or so, and they're pretty stable. The main thing to know about them is that they've got the longest duration on the Sharky platform, which is 16 days, and then the APY is kind of low, but it's relatively safe. There are some cool perks. You can stake them, and you can basically like earn from them in the long term. So safe collection, super good. The next collection, if you have been watching any of my thing, it has to be the Trash Pandas. So these things currently are at 1.8. They are a little bit more volatile, but they typically stay in the 1 to 3 Solana range. I am a big believer of just the Degenerate Ape Academy. It was like one of the first NFT collections in Solana. It is definitely one of the most iconic, like anyone knows them. It is the only collection to my knowledge that has sold like in $1 million NFT at the time. I think maybe did like recently, I think a DeGods did sell for that kind of money, but I don't think so. No, it depends. Anyway, ignore the DeGods thing. They abandoned us. They left Sol. Next is the Heist. So I've done a few collections on them. It is a super popular NFT game, and when I say the Heist, it can be either one of these collections. You have something like the floor stable at 3. You can get a 2.5. The land, that's a little bit more volatile. It drifts between 2.5 and like 4 Sol. But same thing, you can get in, and the Heist NFTs are always fun. They've been super solid, and yeah, simple collection that I've done a lot of loans on. I guess the next one has to be Cats on Crack. I've lost a lot of money on them, but I've also gained some money on them recently. But basically, when the floor, it's very volatile, but at 3.7, you can get in at like just under 3. It's pretty cool. 14-day loans though, which I don't like. I would prefer this to be a 7-day loan. But super, like the art is iconic. They had a like massive pump and rally in the beginning, and I don't think they're dead. They recently got a new CEO and a new like team leading it, and I think there's a good chance that this collection can be revived. But yeah, once again, it's just definitely something to pay notes on, like to keep under your radar. I definitely think like compared to some of these things like Alpha Pharaoh, like a lot of the stuff like doesn't last that long. It just the main thing is don't fall for like what's shiny, like Frogans. This thing was crazy at one stage. Like the floor is now 6. At one stage it was 18. It just did a huge pump and dump. So yeah, don't fall for it. Just kind of stay away from it. I'll give you another example is ABCs. I lost so much money on this collection. It went to like 200 sol at one stage or 100 sol, and then it came crashing down. I think it crashed from like 200 plus sol to 100 sol to 50 sol to 20 sol to 10 sol, and it's just been going downhill since then. And everyone's trying to, like, it's been the biggest falling knife. People constantly keep trying to catch it. I mean, if you want to ABCs, like, you've got Hades Swap and you got good builders and there's like solid community, but it's a falling knife. I just can't. It's not on my list for that reason. DJ Fat Cats, they did the original DJ like flip coins and stuff like that. They kind of were one of the big gambling guys, and they got some cute cats. They're still around, definitely. And then the final one, which is more of a nominee. I've never done any loans on them, but it has to be, I guess, Jelly. There's a few actually, I think. But you got Jelly Dogs and Jelly Rascals. I wouldn't bother with the dogs. Like, this kind of lending, it's too small and insignificant. Like, let's say you were to do a loan at 0.2, like, look at that kind of interest. You're much better off just buying shit coins and meme coins, and just, like, it's not worth your time. Jelly Rascals is worth your time, like 6.44, and then you can get in at under 5. It's not bad. At one stage, these things were worth over 100 sol. Big, hardcore community, and yeah, decent. I haven't done any loans on them, but I can't leave them off this list. I think they're worth being here. The other one is Famous Foxes. The reason I'm like a little bit skeptical is just, it's better if you want to do this collection's loans, just do it on their like lending platform. It's where like they live basically. You can see that the available pool's tiny. Very few people do Famous Foxing lending on Shopify. You might as well just be on Citrus. And just, if you like that collection, like, they've got smaller collections with the dens, and the dens are, you can get in 5.5 and it's like really good LTVs. And yeah, those are the collections I personally have done lots of loans on, and I monitor them daily. And it's just, yeah, if you want another notable one, it's like SMB, super OG collection, super old school Solana stuff, and you can just get their Gen 3. They just peaked over 5 now, but yeah, floor 6.55. They kind of started off at 15, and but they were floating around 10 to 15 for a long time. But with the recent Sol pump, they've obviously gone down. But their main attributes and their main value is honestly just the original Gen 2 community. But it's just their second collection. Basically a lot of what I recommended is the second collections of the famous quote-unquote blue chips of Solana. So you got the Degenerate Ape Trash Pandas, you've got the Famous Foxes, and now you've got the SMB2s or SMB3s. And then moving on to medium. So this is going to be the 5 to 15 Solana range. And this is personally, like, if you're going to get into lending, this is kind of where the meat and potatoes is. It's what I prefer. It's my comfort zone, like the 500 to the 1,500 US dollar range. If you were to do the other loans, it's not bad. It's just, you might as well be in meme coins and NFT flipping. If you're going to only play with like 5 sol to constantly grow that at 4%, it gets a little bit, it just takes longer. So in the 5 to 15 range, in no particular order, it's I put Cyberfrogs. So super consistent collection. It drifts between 7 and 10 Solana consistently. They've got a massive cool like smart contract thing that they do auto trading for. They've got a really cool like auto trading thing. They've got a big community. With the recent meme coin like Solana hype wave, their collection maybe just went from 7 to 10, but now it's gone back down to 8. But their contract went from like 200,000, which was at that for like the last 2 years, and now it's suddenly 2 million. Like, super solid. You can see the available pool. You can see that there's a lot of offers. It's just a very active collection compared to like Cyber Samurais, for example. But they got 200. Like, yeah, definitely. This is in no particular order. It's just Cyberfrogs is definitely worth it. Next thing, it's the Clayosaurs. I like the collection a lot. I didn't recommend one of their other stuff for like the sub 5 categories because there's just a lot of different things like the clay and the clay makers, but it's also just a little bit too low for me to recommend. Like anything this low, if you go in at 0.29, you're making tiny amounts of Solana, so it's just not worth it. But their second collection, or their collection that basically came out on the Solana mobile, it's definitely worth looking at. It's 15 and you can see it here at 12.5, and if you were to do this loan, you could get it in and you can basically earn a decent chunk. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's what we're here for. That's the meat and potatoes. So basically, the second collection of the Clayosaurs, it's not really the second collection, but it's just two variations of the original dinosaurs, so I don't know what you want to call them. But yeah, Clay Sega. Once again, I have to mention them because it's iconic. They are some of the best builders on Solana right now. I love the Famous Fox Federation. Just under 15. It's like 16 to 16.662, and you got them at 14. So the LTV is very high, nearly a 90% LTV. But go on to Citrus and check Citrus out. It might be much better there. Plus, you don't have to do 14-day loans. You can get high APY, and you can be on a different platform. Like, it's tiny on, don't do it on Sharky, but I just have to include them on the list. Without any surprise, it's one of my favorite collections. It's the Degenerate Ape Academy. So you can either do, this is where it's cool, is that you can either do the Gen 1 or the version 1 of the apes, which has a slightly higher floor price than the version 2, but it's the same collection essentially, except these ones have been upgraded, or their art's been modified to version 2. So their floor price is a tiny bit lower because technically it's not the originals. But what's cool is you can choose between a 14-day one or a 7-day one. So for my comfort, I prefer doing the 7-day loans, but if you like art and you want to try and get like if you want a default, it's always better to get the version 1s, because worst case scenario, you can always upgrade them to the version 2s later on if you don't like the art. But what I like is that you have the choice of durations. You can do the 7 days or the 14 days, either one. I love the Degenerate Apes, but also if you don't like, a little sneaky thing that always gets you is that there's technically a third collection of the Degenerate Apes, and that's the Degenerate Drop Bears. Once again, same LTVs, 7 days, but what's better is this one always tends to have less, there's obviously less liquidity, but you get much better LTVs on the Degenerate Drop Bears. It's like some sneaky alpha for you guys. Like, this is kind of crazy. 16.5 with less than 10. It's got a higher floor price at the moment than the main collection, but that's just because there's very limited amounts of them, and I guess just the market isn't there 100%, or yeah, there's just not enough people trying to sell them, and the real price is actually a little bit lower. But once again, super sneaky, easy thing to get into. A collection that's burnt me a lot in the past, but it's still something I have to mention, is the Blocksmiths. So these things were once over 100 Solana, but they've had a fall from grace, and they went down to the 50s, and then they went down to the 20s, and then the 10s, and then now they've been drifting between 10 and like 15 for the longest amount of time. But super solid, 14-day loan, 180 APR, and you can get in for under 10. Yeah, pretty good. Good LTV, nothing to complain. Definitely worth checking out. They have, like, them and the Famous Foxes are some of the best builders in Solana. The only thing I have to criticize them for is the art. I think their art is terrible, but that's just my opinion. Next collection, OK Bears. Once again, their floor price has drifted between 11 and 19 for the longest amount of time. They are one of the most iconic collections. They've got partnerships with Zara. They opened something with Fortnite. They're always doing something. They're always building. So it's a collection worth keeping on your radar. And then an honorable mention, I have never done a loan on this, but it's definitely something worth keeping on your radar, It's just above the 5 sol range, so if you're in that budget, it's Ori. I don't know how to pronounce it, or I don't know, whatever. It is a very cool Pokemon type Solana NFT game, and they've been around for like 2 years. They've been around through the bear. They're constantly building, constantly upgrading. Really solid game. I think easy loans on this, and they're not too competitive. But once again, if you look at the activity, you're looking at like 1 loan a day. So I wouldn't like, this could just be like a side thing. You just get 1 or 2 loans a week type thing. But I wouldn't like bring in 50 Solana and only put it for this collection. But it's just something to keep on your radar. And then last but not least, we're going to the big dogs, the large Solana NFT lending, which is the 15 to 25 Solana range. If you want to go bigger, like obviously you can go in with Mad Lads and SMB, but for the sake of this conversation, I'm assuming that you guys do not have like 15,000 to just put on an NFT loan. Maybe you do. I'm not too sure. Let me know in the comments down below. But the first one is something I've done so many loans on, and that's the Galactic Geckos. They've been super solid. Great team, great community, really good art, like historic. They were probably, if not the first Solana NFT collection on the blockchain. And you can see their floor price constantly is between 25 and like 35. And once again, super solid community. They love their art, so you can get super lucky with like rare traits, and then those loans basically pay for themselves, and you always know that they're going to pay you back because people are attached to their rarities. Next one, same thing. It's the big Papa Dog, the main collection for clay. This is currently at 30. They always like between 28 and like 35. So like getting loans at 23 always feel pretty good. Plus they're 7-day loans. The APY is a bit low, but they always pay back. It's pretty solid. I like them a lot. Like there used to be a joke about OK Bears in the lending community, which was like their nickname was Paper Paws because they would always sell their NFTs. I don't think I've ever had a clay default. I've had a few of the other collections, but yeah, super solid collection. I don't know much about the traits and the rarities, but definitely worth a loan or definitely worth being on your radar. Next two I have not done loans on, but they're definitely worth noting, or just I've been following them for a long time. And that's Taio Robotics. So actually their offer price now has shot up above the $25 range, but when I was looking and doing the research, it was actually below. So their floor price constantly shifts and is changing. They were once one of the biggest players in Solana, but they did take a fall from grace and they stopped building, or they just went quiet and people moved on to the next shiny thing. But once again, they are some of the best builders in Solana, and they haven't left, and they stay during the bull market. So something to keep on your radar, but right now their best offer is actually higher. But you can see, like 2 days ago, it was actually in like the $25 range, believe me or not. I think I might even have a loan on a different account. I've got to just double check. And then moving on to the Boracco Dragons. These things are just under 25 sol, and they've got an LTV of 16. I think their community has become a lot more quiet. But once again, these things were the bread and butter of Solana during the bull run of 2021. Like, they were iconic and they were worth a ton of money. I think like $40,000 at one time. And like 400 Solana, they were a bit silly. Like 400 Solana at 250 each, it was crazy. But they have taken a fall from grace. They are still building. I heard that they were going to do a new mint and a new collection, so there is some news about that. But just something to keep on your radar in the $15 to $25 range. As for my own collection and my current update, we're doing well. We have no defaults and everything's tracking along. I'll give you a more concise update next week. And yeah, let me know down below which of these collections you are trading on. Bye.